Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Anil Joshi. Welcomes you to my series Learn Radiology with Dr. Anil Joshi. Today's topic is based on MRI physics, that is MR angiography. As you know, it can be done either with the contrast or without contrast. Now, how MRI sequences produces MR angiography? That is what we are going to see in today's lecture. So, though today's topic is MR angiography, we are going to discuss physics behind it, and other parts of contrast like reaction, how to treat them and all are covered in some other topic. Today's topic is physics behind MR angiography. But to start with are the disclosure, acknowledgement and disclaimers. Almost all the material used in this is from our departmental day-to-day teaching. However, some of it we have borrowed from the net, which we have confirmed that is royalty free. We acknowledge with thanks from those from whom we have got it and assure them that this is going to be used for a teaching purpose and not for the commercial purpose. With that disclosure and disclaimer, let's get going to the main topic, that is the difference between X-ray, CT and MR angiography. As obviously on X-ray, it is a DSA angiography where the dye is required, contrast is required, special equipment is required, but you can get good pictures, no doubt. Second is CT. Advantage is when you are doing CT scan of any patient, quickly you can inject the contrast and get the things done. However, the quality of the information you get on CT is not as good as that of the MRI, and the most advantage part of MRI is the without contrast also that can be done, and at same sitting we can obtain a venous as well as arterial phases. So these are the differences between three type of angiographies. Today's topic we are going to discuss about MR angiographies. Now, magnetic resonance angiography is a visualization of hemodynamic flow using imaging technique that determines flowing spin in a blood form from that of the stationary tissue. What does it mean? It means that there are two types of tissues. Take for the example brain. There are some moving tissues and there are certain stationary tissues. Now, if we can distinguish moving tissues from that of the stationary tissues, yes, we'll image blood vessels. Now, if we can image a blood vessel with different flow, a arterial and venous can also be imaged. Now, that is the technique MR uses, that it images both the tissues separately, moving tissues, stationary tissues, and eliminates the stationary tissues. So, you get the moving tissues, they are the blood components and blood vessels. Now, the flow of blood through the magnetic field gradients and radio frequency fields produces a signal changes that can be used to distinguish blood vessel from the surrounding stationary tissue. Simple, because we image both differently. The field of magnetic resonance angiography attempts to overcome this limitation by creating images that depict blood vessel in a projected format similar to the conventional invasive angiography, that is what we call DSA, but without the need of ionizing radiation or a contrast agent. So, all the drawbacks of contrast, particularly a reaction part of it, is eliminated. Now, for that we have to understand what is a flow defect. Flow defect, as we said, we want to differentiate stationary tissues from the moving tissues. Now, how we detect this? By time of flight effect. The time of flight effect includes flow related enhancement and high velocity signal or a washout, and third is flow related enhancement. This occurs in gradient echo imaging and is a result of magnetic saturation. Now, this is a graph which shows you magnetization. You can see long TR over the time, that is when a RF pulse is applied 90 degrees in spin echo or more than 90 degrees in gradient echo, the longitudinal magnetization, here it is represented as MZ, that is magnetization around the Z axis, becomes 0 and slowly recovers its longitudinal magnetization to initial volume, that is M0. Now, what will happen if you got short TR? In case of short TR, if the RF pulse is reapplied before the Z magnetization has had chance to fully recover, the longitudinal magnetization never reaches its maximum initial value. Now, what is the advantage of it? The longitudinal magnetization, instead of refigured to a new lower energy state values, that is MSS, the closer the RF values, the less time allowed for the magnetization along the Z axis to recover, the lower the MSS. So, these are the principles. Now, gradient echo involves exposing the tissues to the multiple short TRS, as we have seen the principle just now. Stationary tissues will be subjected to many TRS, reducing the transverse magnetization. However, fresh blood coming into the imaging slice will not have been exposed to these TRS. It will be fresh. The earlier which was exposed had already moved, and that will have a lot more transverse magnetization than the surrounding tissues. It will therefore returns a larger signal. Now, diagrammatically we will try to explain. You are seeing the two diagrams of flowing blood. Now, the blue indicates saturated tissues, and a hollow circle, you can call this white, is unsaturated tissues. Now, here you are seeing repeatedly short TRS, saturated band of tissues, then tissue unexposed to the repetitive TRS are outside and some are inside. How they will cast signal is already explained to you, and it is diagrammatic representation of same thing which I have told you just now. Now, what is a flow void? It occurs in a spin echo imaging. This is a diagram how flow void occurs in a flowing tissues. Now, all blues are saturated tissues and the white circles are unsaturated. But what has happened in the next image? The saturated tissues has moved forward and unsaturated tissues has taken the place of saturated tissues. Now, the resultant density is black, what is shown. The signal from spin echo depends on the tissue receiving both 90 degrees and 180 degrees pulse to generate the echo. If the tissue in a slab exposed to 90-degree pulse then moves out of the slab, it will not receive the 180 degrees pulse. So, I have shown you in diagram two type of tissues. The first tissue is, that is the first slab that is exposed to 90 degrees, but they moves out by the time 180 pulse is applied. So, the 180 RF pulse to be able to generate an echo, that will generate echo. Similarly, tissues moving to the slab exposed to the 180 degrees RF pulse will not have been exposed. I have shown you in a box. You can revert in and see just now that the box, you can see the white circles. So, tissues moving into the slab exposed to 180 degrees RF pulse will not have been exposed to the 90 degrees RF pulse beforehand. The time between the 90 and 180 RF pulses is TE by 2. Therefore, if the tissue moves faster than TE by 2, all the material exposed to the initial 90 degree pulse will not be exposed to 180 degree pulse. That diagram I have shown you. See it again if you need. If however, it moves slightly slower than TE by 2. Now, see the effects. Moving protons. As proton moves along the gradient, the frequency increases with the magnetic gradient resulting in a increased change in phase. Now, you are seeing stationary protons. We have got two moving protons and stationary protons. The stationary proton frequency remains stable. Please note from phase coding that the gradient applied effect, the phase of the preceding protons and the magnetic gradients are used to localize the origin of a signal. A proton that is moving along the gradient will alter the phase coding, the length of the time the gradient is applied, this magnitude of the gradient and the velocity of the photon. We know the time and magnitude of the gradient, and so we know we can calculate the velocity of a proton which is moving. Now coming to technique, the types of MR angiography can be broadly separated into two types. One thing is dark blood and second is bright blood. The bright blood technique are then further divided into according to whether they use gadolinium contrast or not. Let's see them. Here MR angiography technique, that is dark blood and bright blood. Now dark blood is again, there are susceptibility weighted images, then spin echo, then immersion recovery are for dark blood. Now bright blood, we use either non-contrast or contrast, and there can be time of flight TOF, phase contrast, then steady state free precision SSFP, then fast echo plane PFSE, and arterial spine labeling ASL. So these are the different type of angiographies we have seen in the table. Now what is time of flight TOF? This is a gradient echo sequence that uses flow related enhancement. It has a short repetitive time TR to ensure that all stationary spins will have the signal saturated out. Only spin that then moves into the imaging field that has or that have not experienced the saturation of RA pulsation will yield a high signal, and it can either be a 2D or 3D study. Pre-saturating bands are used to reduce the signal from blood flowing into the imaging field from a certain direction. For example, apply distally to the imaging field to saturate out returning venous flow, but ensure high signal from the outgoing arterial flow. That's how it differentiates. Now here we are seeing flowing blood, now in two direction. Now saturating band saturates signal from inflowing venous flow, then repetitive short TRAs saturate band of the tissues. You can see either blue signal or a white signal, and that is what you get on display. Now what are the advantage? Contrast agent not required, can be used for venous, that is 2D, good for low velocities, or arterial imaging, that is good for the high velocities. Then very sensitivity to the flow. The sequences what I had told you just now they are very sensitive to the flow. Now saturate out all background signals. This will saturate all background signals. 3D TOF is very high resolution, that is 1 mm. Now what are the disadvantages? Flow void due to in plane saturation, post-stenotic turbulence distal to the stenosis. Slow flow can exaggerate the length of the occlusion and stenosis, long imaging time, and sensitive to metal and artifacts. Stationary object with very high T1 signal will be visible, for example hemangiomas. Then what are the contrasts after using gadolinium if we perform the test? What is gadolinium? The gadolinium is a chelating agent which causes shortening of T1 relaxation of the blood compared with the background tissues, leading to a high signal intensity of T1 brightened sequences. All these physics behind gadolinium we have discussed in a contrast topic of MRI. Do visit our channel for same. Then areas of interest in imaging is the first pass of the contrast to ensure the best signals. Now let us see advantages: more accurate, then reproducibility, faster scan, so can image at a different plane, for example pre-contrast arterial and venous. Then fewer poorly rated artifacts. So it will be clear images, and disadvantage is not flow sensitive. No, so we have seen in detail how MRI angiography works. With that, we are coming to an end of lecture. I thank you for giving me your valuable time. Please visit our website for comprehensive and detailed lectures on this topic and any other. Our addresses are given. Thank you, goodbye, and take care.